That was great stuff. Thanks to Yulia and Kevin for the interview and for sharing their thoughts on the differentiation and impact of app-based traffic steering on user behavior and the user experience. And I got my coffee in time. Hey, if you have questions or comments for our speakers, please feel free to post those in the chat.
Customer service, thank you for holding. How can I make your life better today?
Finally, I'd like to change my service.
I can help you with that. Postal code, please.
91234.
Great. 91234.
Hey, I'm going to need to take this, but for our final look at today's topic, we're taking a deep dive with experts from Cisco and Equinix. During the interview, I asked them about automated and dynamic services all the way to the edge. Here's what they had to say. I'm here with Charles Eckel, Principal Engineer, Global Technology Standards of Cisco, as well as Dawn Howell, Principal Interconnection Product Manager at Equinix. Are you both coffee drinkers? I just ran in with mine.
Oh, definitely.
For sure. Yes.
Tell me this. Are you one that does it at home with one of the fast make machines? Are you the drive-through brew type? Or do you make like the super fancy ones at home? What do you think, Charles?
Oh, so my coffee's definitely not fancy. Just, black is perfect for me. But, what I've found is I do still like good, good coffee, and French press has really become my go-to because, whether I'm home, I'm traveling, you almost always have easy access to hot water. You just bring some good grounds and, you can make really good French press, just about anywhere. So that's kind of my go-to when I need to make sure I'm, taking care of myself that way.
That is excellent. How about you, Dawn?
Well, I used to have a manager that actually roasted his own coffee beans, but for me, I just like to brew a big pot of drip coffee for the whole family because we're all coffee drinkers.
We're all coffee drinkers. Well, both work, and I'm glad that we've all had it today and can jump into a deep dive number 2 of this episode. So, Dawn, why don't I jump right in and bring it to you? How can network providers move faster to turn up and offer services all the way to the edge with minimal risk and maximum value?
Yeah, so a key factor for minimum risk and maximum value is the decision of buy versus build. It's no secret that network providers play a key role in the world of digital transformation. Enterprises are moving to the cloud at a rapid pace, and network providers have a lot of responsibility to enable these enterprises to consume network services the way they consume cloud services. And with the shifting digital landscape and increasing need for automation, network providers need to think hard about buy versus build. Making that decision is critical to this acceleration. For example, at Equinix, we're developing products that can enable network providers and partners to quickly spin up infrastructure such as virtual network functions, compute and storage with little to no capital investment. It allows the network providers to focus on what they do best, such as SD-WAN, SASE, and even the underlying transport and automating those network services. But that, combined with the ability to spin up compute, storage, and security services at the edge, allows them to deliver powerful automation solutions to their customers.
Thank you, Dawn. And you mentioned some of the factors, and I know that some people want to really make this move quick. Keep going for a moment on what factors and standards you believe will really accelerate this move.
Yeah, so I think accelerations of the move to the digital experience will be driven by standards around deploying edge services in any location by any provider quickly and simply. Make it easy to consume, integrate, and pay for these services with models that can be adopted by any number of service providers. These services will need to span a broad variety of use cases, 5G, AI, Edge, IaaS, PaaS, and IoT for both the provider and enterprise edge domains. Some factors to consider include focusing on building infrastructure and applications that have zero-touch provisioning, operations, and lifecycle, which in turn reduces OpEx. Focusing on a finite set of configurations in order to reduce complexity. And focusing on the ability to support multiple workload types such as VMs, containers, microservices, etc. MEF clearly sees the importance of all these factors and is doing some great work to accelerate the creation and adoption of standards around edge services with their Sonata and Cantata work.
Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that so very much. Charles, we're going to jump over to yourself. I've got the French press kind of brewing here for you just so you're ready and I'm ready as well. But more importantly, I want to understand what important building blocks does MEF provide and what more do you feel is needed?
Yeah, so, MEF is really all about defining standards for managed network services, beginning with carrier Ethernet, then IP services, and, more recently for SD-WAN services. And, we know SD-WAN is really an overlay service on top of using various underlays. And those underlays may, in fact, be MEF services, such as carrier Ethernet and IP services. And those standards are really the key building blocks that are needed for service providers and subscribers and partners to all speak the same language when they're talking about any network service, and specifically for SD-WAN service, where there was so much of a disparity in the way different, solutions were being brought to market. So MEF standards have really helped a lot with the acceleration of SD-WAN in general and just getting mass deployment and adoption of SD-WAN services. So what's really needed, though, to take it to the next level is we want to be able to automate these services. And for that, we need APIs. And within MEF, there's a lot of great work with the LSO reference architecture around APIs. But more specifically, we need APIs in the context of SD-WAN, and APIs that will help the SD-WAN network discover and understand applications as they come onto the network, not only for traditional applications, but really more specifically for cloud native applications as well.
Well, and I want to go deeper again because it's a deep dive, because we hear a great deal about the need for the automation you mentioned to handle demands of dynamic application workloads. But how are you addressing that?
Yeah, so we're really one of the things I'm doing, that Cisco's doing, that MEF is doing, is we're defining APIs to fill that gap that we said is needed. Not just SD-WAN service APIs in general, but APIs that are needed to augment that application awareness. Application awareness is so important; it's a critical part of SD-WAN. But especially in today's networks where you have new applications come onto the network and ramp up and ramp down very quickly, that works great in, say, the cloud, network. But in order for the SD-WAN network that they're being transited over to understand them and be able to handle them, it needs to know what they are. So we're defining APIs that help enable that to happen. And this is being done through collaboration with the Kubernetes community and the Linux Foundation, with other standards organizations such as IETF, and of course in MEF. Now, open source code and open APIs, those all help a lot. But what's really needed there is that collaboration, true collaboration across these groups to make sure that the needs of all the different stakeholders are involved, so that what's defined isn't just as the network operators envisioned it, or just as the application developers, envisioned it, but really as, that it meets the needs of everyone. And so we have an incubation group that we've defined within MEF, and we're tackling exactly this problem of defining SD-WAN APIs in the context of the LSO architecture, and specifically so that we can discover cloud native applications as they come on the network and understand how to deal with them better.
Thank you, Charles. That was a great and much deeper dive, which is awesome. Dawn, don't fret. I've got your coffee coming along too. I see you both still don't have any, but hopefully you can share. How is the move to cloud native, secure, and automated services changing our customers' need?
Yeah, so we see a big shift in customer requirements and customer needs with the move to digital transformation. I mean, first of all, and clearly more virtual, less physical. They're looking for touchless, asset-light methods to deploy and operate network services and infrastructure, and they are seeking the most and most likely prefer virtual equivalents to what was previously physical assets. They also want choice at the same time. They want to exercise opinion on technology choices they feel important for their digital advantage, whether that be the choice of operating software, edge locations, where to deploy virtual versus physical, etc. And they want those choices to bring additional value. Many customers will continue to want engagement with an ecosystem of partners who enable technology adoption on the customer's transformation without forcing huge disruptions. That's very important. Customers clearly want self-service. Their expectations about digital on-demand channels from purchase through support have increased steadily. The customer experience needs to be easy enough for self-service digitally at every step, starting really before anything's ever purchased. Customers will buy in the future before we or their partners even sell. They're looking for simplicity. They seem to want to push complexity from their value chain these days to the provider. Things like contracting, logistics, compliance, etc. Customers don't want to deal with these complexities. They simply want to spin up and spin down services that are needed when they're needed. So we see an additional persona in our buying behaviors, more engagement from the DevOps persona. So, and these are often lacking DIY networking backgrounds. So we need to be able to go beyond negotiation of just bandwidth connections to areas like traffic optimization and network threat prevention. And then last but not least is integrated commerce. Customers like a one-stop shop consumer experience like shopping Amazon or the Apple App Store can attest to. Customers increasingly value integrated transaction experiences orchestrated for them across vendors.
Well, that's great, Dawn. So, Charles, I'm going to kick back to you. What's been tried in the past, and what do you feel is different here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because our networks have had lots of powerful standardized capabilities for years. Working at Cisco, I've seen those come to market. We're not taking the foot off the gas in terms of making our equipment, more powerful. Of course, standards have always been important to Cisco. So, I mean, that's been the state of things. But the challenge is really to use those capabilities in real networks is really effectively. So the communication between application developers and network engineers, I mean, that's been a challenge, for as long as I can remember in the standards world, but in other places too. They really tend to just talk different languages, and the application developers are very clear that. For the most part, they don't want the network messing with their traffic. And then network engineers are like, well, we can help the application work better. And, but at the same time, don't want the application developers messing with their network. So, that's been tough. Now, SD-WAN definitely helped out and is helping out a great deal here because SD-WAN is all about the applications, right? The needs of the applications are brought, to the forefront. So that's a big step there. But more is needed. And that's where defining these mechanisms or at least what our solution proposed is to let application developers annotate their applications. So this is like built into their application as they're deploying it, that they can describe a bit more about their application. What does it need? Is it business critical? Is it a real-time application? Does it require a low latency? Does it need a lot of bandwidth? And then these can be provided as part of the application description to the network, to the NetOps guys. And then on the NetOps side, those folks are able to look at that and decide how best to try to meet those needs of the applications, to map the application onto their network, to optimize the handling and use of their underlay services within their SD-WAN, to meet the needs of those applications. So that loose coupling between the application needs and what the network is actually doing, and doing that in a kind of a collaboration across the open source community with Kubernetes and the standards folks. That's really what's new here, and what I think is going to help solve this problem for us.
Well, love that we can solve the problem, but what's the current state of this work, would you say? And how does one learn more? And so importantly, how does one get involved?
Yeah, great. And I'm really glad you asked that. Because the way this all started was actually as an open source project within the Kubernetes community called Cloud Native SD-WAN. And this project was really tackling that specific problem of applications within a Kubernetes cluster as they come onto the network. How can the SD-WAN discover them and provide optimal network services for them? So you have that open source project. And then what we did, we have a POC, a proof of concept within MEF. It was part of the proof of concept showcase done this year. And it was called Application Optimized SD-WAN. And that was a collaboration with Cisco, Engena, and Equinix. And that's actually when Don and I first had the privilege to start working together. So that POC was very successful. And as a result of that, we were able to get approval to have a new incubation group within MEF to tackle this problem space very specifically for cloud native SD-WAN applications, to define LSO APIs for SD-WAN that really can help optimize how we deal with them. So that incubation group is up and running. Our goal is to define come up with a project proposal and to have that approved so that we'll have a real MEF project defined behind this. And we're meeting weekly on Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific time. We moved our calls to, try to make it more time friendly for more folks. So it would be great if you join us there, learn about what we're doing, help us make it work better. Like I said, this is really a collaborative effort. We need the opinions and ideas of all the stakeholders in there. So, I hope you join us.
That would be great. I hope some people join as well. Now, I've had the French press. Oh, I lost the top of the lid on that one. I got the drip going now, and I come in with store-bought. I'm getting a little jittery, to be honest, but it gets me excited because we want people to get involved, and I got to taste that one for you, Don. I'll put a little bit of flavor in there. Whew. It's going to be a good rest of the day. Charles and Don, I'm very excited that you could join us and be sharing this deep dive with us today on our 8th episode of the Infinite Edge series. Any final comments while I get one more sip of Don's fresh brew here?
No, I mean, that coffee looks great. I had a ton of coffee before this. So now for me, the challenge was just, I guess, getting my mouth to keep up with my mind so it didn't overrun it. But, this has been great. I really appreciate having this opportunity to meet with everyone in this format and talk with Don and yourself, John. And, I look forward to continuing this work. There's a lot to do here. This is an exciting space. It's moving fast, and we've done a great job meeting online in order to move this work forward. We need to continue that. And I really look forward to being able to travel and meet in person and continue to move this forward, because it's an exciting area.
Yeah, lots to do, exciting times, and I really look forward to seeing everyone live, hopefully in the near future.
Me too. Thank you, Don Howell, Charles Eckel. Whew. All right. Appreciate your time and your talents. It's time, I think, we check in with the host, see how he's doing on hold. Maybe he's a little less caffeinated than I am at the moment. We'll see you in a second.